Welcome to Archives with Alyse. I'm Catherine McWilliams, the Communications Director for the Daughters of Wisdom U.S. Province. And I'm really happy to announce a new series that we're going to be putting out in the months to come, Archives with Alyse. Alyse Franco is our Archives Consultant. She's been with us for a few years, and in this series she's going to be telling you about the archives and the artifacts of the Daughters of Wisdom U.S. Province. So I'd like you to meet Alyse Franco.
Hello.
So Alyse, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in this sort of work and how it is that you wound up here as our consultant.
Okay. So, my name's Alyse. I have a master's degree in library and information science from the University at Buffalo. I currently work part-time in a public library with teenagers in grades 6 through 12. And I also have a full-time job at a local college where I work in admissions. I happened upon an ad that Sister Kathy posted looking for a volunteer for the archives, and I applied. And that was in 2016. So I have been volunteering and consulting for the archives about once a week ever since.
So, Alyse, tell us, what does an archivist do?
So the main...
is there a starting point? Is there a place you ultimately want to get with records and photographs and artifacts? More for the viewers out there that are not so familiar with that term.
So I would say the main role of an archivist is to preserve history. And in this archive, there are certain things that we are required to preserve. And the main goal is to preserve them in a way that is, well, going to preserve them. So there are special boxes and envelopes and things that are designed just for archival materials. And you'll see, even we came across a lot of things that maybe had staples in them or metal paper clips. And those types of things can leave marks on paper. So one of the things that we do is we remove that stuff to prepare them to be preserved for a very long time. So I would say really it's just preserving history.
So tell me, in terms of preserving artifacts and maybe paper and things of that nature, has this gone through an evolution, so to speak, of how things were done in the past to how they're being done nowadays in terms of preserving things that may be 70 years old here for the United States province, or maybe as much as 300 years old for those who, established here in North America?
So I would think that archival work has changed as technology changed. We have access to digitize certain things and keep them in different mediums. I think a challenge of archives is coming across something that we don't have the medium to view anymore, like VHS tapes and things of that nature, and we've actually taken some of the VHS tapes and converted them to CD and tried to put them digitally on a computer. So in some ways technology has made archive work a lot easier because we have different means of preserving things, but in other ways we're now left with things where there's no longer a medium to view that, so we have to figure out how to keep that going so in the future we can still view something that maybe the technology isn't relevant for anymore.
So tell me some of the things that you've been doing while working here for the Daughters of Wisdom. Were you presented with any immediate challenges?
So when I first started, the immediate challenge was there was a lot of things that belonged in the archive that hadn't made it out to the archive room yet. And we have a special archive room that is temperature controlled and that keeps everything safe. So I think one of the first things that we did when I started consulting was move all of that stuff to the archive room. And there was organization to be done out there, so we moved things to different places, put like things together, and as I had mentioned, we removed paper clips, put things in the proper storage, and things like that. And we have a very extensive photograph collection, so that's something that we've been working on as well, going through the photographs and digitizing some of those.
So let me ask you, how do you assess some of that, the photograph collection? What means do you use to date some of those things that may not have any documentation of date and time?
So first to start, there's actually a document that we use that tells us what's required to keep. So when we're looking through photographs, we're making sure if there's a sister in the photograph, or it's maybe representative of what life was like in maybe an educational institution that the Daughters of Wisdom was involved with, we always want to keep that.
So for someone looking back, you're creating history.
Yes.
Organizing history.
Yes.
More than anything, is that correct?
Yes, and a lot of the photographs that we find do have dates on them, do have things written on the back. The sisters in the photo are identified, and if they're not, we have reached out to many of the sisters to help us identify who was in those photographs and what year they might have been taken. So we don't always have a specific date. We can kind of guess based on what's going on in the photo, but we try our best to get as much information about the photograph as possible.
So why don't you tell us, what are you working on right now?
So right now, and I would say maybe for the last year or two, our main focus has been digitizing photographs. So taking all of the photographs in the archive room and anything that's donated to us, going through them, labeling them, and then scanning them into the computer and making sure we have a digital copy of those.
So could you give us a guess of how many of those photos you've done thus far?
A lot. Hundreds, I would say. We have done a lot.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. We'll come back in our very next episode, and we're actually going to be talking about the photo digitization project, and Alyse will tell us a little bit more about how that's actually done. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you next time.